Hey friends, 2020 was ass. Just a real doo-doo brown year, and we're all tired of hearing about it. So here's a whole video about it. 2020 and the good things. The sweet-ass video games, TV shows, and fun stuff that helped us all get through that wet fart of a year. Okay, I'm not going to dwell too much on how crummy 2020 was. We all know, we were stuck inside for most of it. I ended up playing a lot of video games, watching a lot of TV, playing virtual tabletops online. So here's a list of the wonderful things I did dwell on that made me feel like things weren't so bad. These, much like my life, are almost completely out of order, so I don't know. Don't read too much into the sequence I'm presenting these in. And I can almost guarantee the last one is going to surprise you. Number 10. The freaking Mandalorian. Alright, when it was first announced, I gotta admit, I was skeptical. Then the early shots started rolling in, and I allowed myself to get a little more excited, but by the end of episode 1, I was in full-on fanboy squee, literally can't even pointing and yelling at the TV bliss. The Mandalorian is an absolute love letter to Star Wars fans old and new. The celebrity cameos, including my boys Nick Nolte and Tate Fletcher, keep the story moving, and the use of puppetry and practical effects give the show a really authentic Star Wars feel. Number 9. Near the end of 2019, Gearbox released the next installment of the Borderlands franchise. I freaking love Borderlands. I've played all the games, all the DLC, the works. My daughter and I played through Borderlands 2 probably 4 times, so I was pretty stoked when this one dropped. I played as Zane the agent, and I was delighted to hear his Irish brogue coming through my speakers. I finished one playthrough, and from what I understand, Gearbox has released a lot of updates since then, so I'll probably jump back in soon and do an Amara run-through. Number 8. Castle Rock. Okay, I'll admit, I didn't know what to expect with this one. We were just kind of futzing around on Hulu one day and decided to give it a shot. We ended up binging both seasons in just 3 evenings. It's well shot, it's brilliantly paced, it's absolutely creepy, it's a psychological horror series taking place in Stephen King's literary universe. It features some of his most unlikely figures as well as a supporting cast of completely original characters. I'm not even a massive Stephen King fan, but this one had me constantly clenching the couch cushions, and I'm not talking with my hands. We were continually waiting on the next terrifying thing to happen, and yet the show always managed to surprise us. Number 7. Pokemon Go. Pogo has always been a great way for me to play and hang out with my family while looking like a complete weirdo in public. In 2020, it was no different. Niantic did add tons of content in 2020 though, like rewards for PvP, a more robust social system, Team Rocket hot air balloons that will drop off fights at your front door, the ability to level past 40, and of course brand new Pokemon. While the game still rewards getting out and walking around, the developers wisely added lots of support for playing while socially distanced. If you haven't played since year 1, there's literally never been a better time to come back to Pokemon Go. Number 6. Sometimes you need an uplifting show with lots of heart, and Schitt's Creek became a very welcome addition to our sitcom rotation. You guys do that too, right? 3 or 4 shows that you just play on repeat, start to finish, on rotation. Anyway, as a longtime Eugene Levy fan, I was really surprised that I hadn't adopted this gem sooner. The entire cast is incredible, the writing is terrific, and every episode is just exploding with heart. The cast also is unexpectedly attractive, just unfairly beautiful. Would you just look at this? Hot, 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 hot. Number 5. Literally ever since Jenny told me about Critical Role, I've been devoting 20 to 80% of my already limited brain power to TTRPGs. New characters, strategies, dice, campaigns, terrain, minis, paints, accessories, endless hours on D&D Beyond, the works. I dove headfirst into tabletop gaming, and I have yet to come back up for air. I'm always working on something, I'm always reading something or making something, usually a mess. I write background stories for characters that will never see the light of day. I build terrain that sits unused in my garage during the pandemic, and I paint hordes of minis. It got so all-consuming that I started this very YouTube channel just as another creative outlet for my tabletop obsession. I still have a bunch to show you guys. It's gonna be crazy. Like, really crazy. The problem I'm running into now is, how do I show off all the cool things I'm working on without spoiling it for my D&D party in advance? Okay, I'm gonna go on to the rest of the list in a second, but while we're speaking of fun D&D accessories, the good folks from Better Backstories were kind enough to gift me a copy of their Big Bundle Box character development system to take a look at. Sometimes, as a DM, your party will fixate on a character that you just didn't think was gonna be a thing. It happens to every DM I've ever spoken to. Oh, Jesse, is there a taco cart in this city? Sure, why not? And, like, instead of moving on to the incredibly rich and complex political drama that I have prepared for my party, they instead wish to spend the next 45 minutes eating tacos and harassing the taco vendor with an inexplicable French accent that didn't exist 11 seconds ago. For times like these, Better Backstories really shines. I was talking about this with my amazing wife Laura, and she exclaimed how useful something like this would be for her own characters. Here, check this out. I've used this system to improve a character idea that I've had rattling around for a little bit. So I love the idea of a Muay Thai monk, a Furbolg monk, a Muay Thai Furbolg monk. Specifically, a Way of Mercy Muay Thai Furbolg monk. Maybe I'll voice him like Patrick Warburton, I don't know. I want him to be a Furbolg and a monk. So let's write this backstory. I open up my nifty Better Backstories deck, and I'm gonna ask my lovely wife to shuffle for me because I don't know how. Alright, now I'm gonna grab the top 3 cards, and I'm gonna place them face up. And then I'm gonna grab the next 3 cards, and I'm gonna place them face down right under there. Alright, first card, Offbeat. Alright, we've got a numbered list of some really great quirks here. Let's look at the face down card, and it's a 9. I don't get jokes. See, that's freaking great. He's already a hilarious character. Next card is, inspiring. You have a large heart. Alright, we'll check out that face down card, and it's a 1. I'm helpful to strangers. That's pretty nice. Also, it's a fun RP quirk. Like, a DM will love an adventurer that's prone to helping out his NPCs. Alright, last card. Oh dear. We have a tragedy. We'll check the face down card, and oh dear, we've accidentally killed someone. With just 3 cards, we've got this surprisingly deep character that I think I could drop into any campaign and make extremely authentic character choices, really. Each card is packed with variables like weather, location, alignment, and so much more. If this is something that tickles your fancy, head on over to www.betterbackstories.com. Okay, thanks for listening. Back to the list. Number 4, Cobra freaking Kai. Cobra Kai is such a great continuation of the Karate Kid saga, which honestly, I didn't know that was a saga until Cobra Kai came out, but it's a saga now. The original movies are why your dad or your dumb uncle or whatever still think that martial arts are 1, necessary and 2, badass, and honestly, I'm no different. Cobra Kai picks up where the original films left off some 30 years later. The characters have some real depth, and the writers openly acknowledge that the views and actions of these classic characters are all kind of problematic. Johnny is adorably badass, and also a troubling relic of like a less aware time.
Have you seriously never owned a computer before?
Yeah, I'm not a nerd.
It continues the great traditions of the original movies, but it lampoons their flaws through a modern lens. Number 3, Hades. I've always been a huge fan of Supergiant games. I fell in love with their emotional storytelling, their incredible sound design, and their creative approach to isometric RPGs the very first moment I played Bastion. I finally got around to playing Hades this last year, and it provided some of the best bang for your buck entertainment on the market. All of the characters are weirdly hot, and they seem like they do you dirty in a relationship, but like you wouldn't mind because they're really hot. Like, hot. I mean, come on, dude, hot. Hades has an incredibly creative artistic style, innovative life and death mechanics, and Darren Korb's musical genius. These all combine to make Hades a memorable masterpiece, full of weirdly hot gods. Number 2. Okay, there were a lot of bad days in 2020, right? Like, honestly, most of them were not so great. With all the frayed nerves and emotional fatigue, sometimes you just needed to sit back, unwind, and watch people be kind to each other over a low-stakes competition. On those days, nothing delivers quite like the Great British Bake Off. The pleasant visuals, relaxing music, and delightful hosts imply that a more gentle and wholesome world still exists somewhere. Also hot. 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 The baked goods really look incredible, and this one had an added bonus for me. Occasionally, when Laura was watching this, she'd get in the mood to bake, which meant I would get to eat 7/8 of whatever it was she pulled out of the oven, and it was freaking awesome every time. Number 1. I would be remiss to discuss video games or entertainment in general in 2020 without giving huge praise to Animal Crossing New Horizons, the real MVP of early 2020. As the world began to fall apart for many of us, we retreated into a delightful imaginary land of animals. Animals that will wear every article of clothing except for pants, which is fine because we were all stuck at home and no one was wearing pants anyway. As many of you know, I like bears a lot, and I began systematically chasing out every species of animal on my heavily forested lumberjack island except for bears. Look at this adorable dumbass sweeping the beach. I've got a whole lumberjack bear thing going, a lumberjack theme on my island. Only one non-bear remains, the dark one, the accursed one, Apple. Apple the hamster. Apple just won't f***ing leave. And despite all of my pleading and public notices, none of my bear friends will eat Apple. So I beat her daily with a bug net, and I encourage every visitor to my town to do so as well. Okay, so that was my list of 10 things that helped me get through a really freaking rough 2020. I think there's one more thing on the list that I need to mention though, and it's you. I never expected to make so many fantastic new friends when I started this channel back in December. Y'all have been so supportive and so kind and so hilarious. I'm just really grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. It would make me happy. I've got a lot more laughs and crafts and wizard staffs just around the corner, so please keep watching. And as always, please mask up, head out there and support your local game stores. We need them, and now more than ever, they need us. Have a good one, friends.